Growing up, I was an incredibly curious kid. I remember mixing together chemicals under the sink when my parents weren't looking, just to see what would happen. Somehow, out of sheer luck, I didn't mix ammonia and bleach, but I digress. The curiosity quickly planted its roots into the lives of the people around me, especially my parents. My mom has a rather dull but nonetheless respectable past, rooted mostly in religion and family. My dad, on the other hand, was about as opposite from that as you can possibly get. He's told me all sorts of stories about the time he overdosed on cocaine, or smoking pot with shady characters, or waking up in a dumpster after his friends thought he was dead. Oddly enough, he is currently a very successful businessman, and is one of the happiest people I know, but once again, I digress. I think the story that struck me the hardest was the one he told me about his friend who overdosed on heroin. And it was because it was laced with some other much more potent drug. Since then, I've had the belief that drug abusers, despite the stereotypes surrounding them, are very obviously still people and are very much addicted to their drug of choice. And they often have no desire to quit. The illegal nature of these drugs leads to them dipping their hands into the black market, which gives them access to drugs that are unregulated, untested, and have who knows what in them. Considering this, I firmly believe that there should be resources available for these drug users that allows them to have their paraphernalia tested for purity without legal reprimand. A popular adulterant that is used in drugs such as heroin and cocaine is a substance called fentanyl. Fentanyl is an opioid painkiller that is about 50 to 100 times more powerful than morphine, and you'll often find it used in people who have stage 4 cancer because it's such a powerful pain reliever. In 2016, the National Institute on Drug Abuse found that synthetic opioids were involved in nearly 50% of opioid-related deaths, which rose from 14% in 2010. Another popular category of adulterants is bath salts. I'm sure you've all heard the story of the guy who took bath salts and ate the homeless man's face off. It's a crazy drug, but it's often used in MDMA, which is also known as ecstasy, cocaine, marijuana, methamphetamine, and a long list of other substances because it's pretty easy to hide. With these substances prevailing as adulterants in the black market drug trade, it is almost impossible to know if the substance in question is pure or adulterated. Lauren Villa, a Berkeley graduate with a master's level degree in public health, found that despite the popular party drug MDMA being marketed as pure, 49% of users tested positive for butylone and 10% tested positive for methylone, both of which are synthetic cathinones, which is, as stated before, bath salts. In 2018, the DEA, or the Drug Enforcement Administration, found that heroin, on average, had a purity of around 33%. The other 67% being random, often dangerous adulterants, such as fentanyl. These statistics provide their own call for some sort of publicly available testing or apparatus, because regardless of the legality of these things, people are going to do drugs. It's human nature. In the Netherlands, drugs they consider soft drugs, such as marijuana, psilocybin, mushrooms, and sedatives, have been legalized and are often sold in dispensaries that they call coffee shops. In 2017, a health behavior and school-age Christian study found that the amount of people who tried drugs and regularly used them for years after the fact went down from 16.5% in 2003 to 9.2% in 2017. This data suggests the legalization of the drugs, and thus the suppression of the black market and increased availability of drug-related assistance, seems to produce a drop in the amount of serial drug abusers. This provides heavy implications for the efficacy of the radical drug plan. It shows that it is incredibly effective at reducing drug abuse, and that the availability of drugs reduces the need of and use of the black market. If we as a society could provide the necessary resources to these drug abusers, their lives would not be in nearly as much danger as they are currently. As it is, the illegality of these substances is causing the black market to grow ever larger, and the chances of receiving an adulterated substance grows in line with the market. If we could take a page out of the Netherlands book, we could very possibly reduce the use of drugs in general, suppress the black market, thus suppressing the use of dangerous adulterants, and save countless lives in the process. I feel that it is our duty as a society to take responsibility for these helpless souls and to help bring them into an environment in which they can feel safe from the danger of an unexpected death. I feel that it is our responsibility as humans to protect these individuals in any way that we can and in every way that we should.